Thanks for joining me.
Hey, I got a little something I'd like to lay on y'all.
Digging in the crates. I'm down with digging in the crates. Digging in the crates. I'm down with digging in the crates. Digging in the crates. I'm down with digging in the crates. Digging in the crates. I'm down with digging in the crates.
Boom. That's quite an introduction there. What's up? My name is DJ GhostNotes, and this is my top 5 digs of the week. Let's get into it. Okay, so on this week's top 5, we're going to be talking about these records. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stick around. Okay, so as I reflect on my previous week of digging, I spend a bit of time on Bandcamp, I spend a bit of time on Discogs, but I really actually mostly enjoy visiting my local record stores and chatting to the owners and digging through what's in store. I like supporting local businesses. I like to support local artists. I think that's important. Discogs is really tempting because you can find just about any record in just about any location, but you still got to give love to your local stores, in my opinion. I'm so grateful to be able to still walk into a record store and go through the vinyl and dig out records. Shout outs to all the dope record stores in Melbourne, in Australia, around the world. Keep doing what you're doing, and people keep visiting those stores and keep supporting. Okay, so let's get into it. It's a bit of a sad start to this episode because in Australia we lost the Queen of Soul, Renee Geyer. I think I discovered her about a decade or longer ago and realised that she was Australian. I didn't actually know that she was an Australian singer. She has such a big presence and a really warm, beautiful soul voice. I read recently that they tried to market her in the States and they didn't want to actually put her photo on the cover so that they might sort of not trick but persuade people that she might be black, a black soul singer. And I know Renee wasn't having any of that. She actually ended up putting her face on the cover of the album as a big FU to the record companies, as in, this is me. I'm a singer. I'm a white soul singer. So I would definitely recommend checking out a radio show called Mystic Brew on PBS, and the show is hosted by local Melbourne DJ and radio personality Mike Geyer. Amazing show, really highlighting her life and some of her history, and she has a very long history in Australia of music. She did a mad version of It's a Man's World, the James Brown cover. And that sort of got her a bit of recognition outside of Australia, and it's been remixed a few times. My favourite album of Renee was the early work she did with the Renee Geyer Band in '75, and there was a couple of tracks on that record that were just killer funk, standout kind of funk records, and for me that sort of grabbed my attention. The record that I'm talking about today is from that album. So the album was called Ready to Deal, and I managed to, this week, find a copy of Love's Got a Hold, which I'm going to play for you now. This was in 1975. Really dope record, really funky. On the flip side, Heading in the Right Direction, which was another big song for Renee and the band. And actually, the standout track on that album, Ready to Deal, was a track called Sweet Love. And that, in my opinion, was just a killer tune. It was actually featured on the in the movie Chopper. So let's go ahead and have a listen to this. This is the Renee Geyer Band, Love's Got a Hold, on 45.
Sometimes you can't hurt me. I can feel the walls of love falling around me. Somehow you can't move me. Ain't nobody else around who knows how to work me.
Dope. Rest in peace, Renee Geyer. Her music will live on for a long, long time. And I know that a lot of people, especially in Australia, are very sad to hear the news about her passing. Okay, so on to record number 2. I picked up this record a few days ago at Natural Selection around the corner. I did a show on Natural Selection with Charlie recently. So if you haven't watched that episode, I would recommend going and having a watch. It's a dope record store and some really nice records in there. Usually doesn't have a lot of 45s, but this week he managed to get his hands on a bunch from overseas, so I was excited to go in and have a dig. One of the records I pulled out, which I thought was quite interesting, was a group called Windjammer. I didn't know a lot about Windjammer. I've had a 45 of theirs a little while ago. It was a pretty dope boogie sort of tune. This one that I'm playing is Dive Inside My Love, and it's the B-side to Live Without Your Love. And this record was released in 1984 on MCA Records. Interesting story about Windjammer. Back in 77, guitarist Kevin McLean broke into the Jackson 5's hotel room and handed a demo tape to Tito Jackson. I'm not sure exactly what happened after that, but was obviously like ushered out of the hotel. The tape must have been fire because 2 years later, Joe Jackson, the Jackson's father, signed them onto his label. And a few short years after that, they were signed to MCA. So the group's originally from New Orleans. Pretty dope record. Not super rare, but funky. So let's have a listen. This is Dive Inside My Love. Cool. So another record I found at Natural Selection again, because they had quite a few 45s in that I was interested in, is a record called Brand New Wayo. And this is Afrofunk, Nigerian Afrofunk, I believe. This one is on Mukatsuku label, the UK label. I actually have a copy of this on a compilation, which is called Brand New Wayo. So it's a familiar 45 to me, and it's probably one of the best tracks on that compilation. So when I saw the 45, I had to grab it. As a 45's DJ, even if I've got it on the 12-inch, if it's something I think I'm going to play on 45, I just nab it. Anyway, this is a dope tune. There's tons of funky Nigerian boogie and stuff that came out. So there are a lot of dope compilations out there. That's one of them. I've got quite a few others that are really dope, but let's have a listen to this one. This is Brand New Wayo, and the group is called Mixed Grill. Let's check it out.
Brand new Wayo. Hey! Brand new Wayo. Hey! Brand new Wayo.
Okay, so another dope record I found this week, and this is a 12-inch record. I managed to find this at Plug 7 on Smith Street. The album is called Jazz Spectrum 2, and it's obviously the second in the series of Jazz Spectrum records. The first compilation was dope, the second compilation is just as good. And this was compiled by Dr. Bob Jones, not to be mistaken for Bob James, the producer, but Bob Jones was a big advocate for early jazz music, and for the last 50 years he's been DJing, producing, compiling, recommending, remixing, digging, sorting, and sort of offering dope music to the world, specifically kind of well-produced black music, jazz, funk, soul, disco, that sort of stuff. He's worked with artists like Al Green, Bobby Womack, the Swing Out Sisters, Daryl Hall, and he worked with Keb Daj on the first compilation of Jazz Spectrum. He's doing the second one solo. It's just a cool compilation. I have been meaning to grab this record for quite some time. I've got some of the songs already on other albums. Heaps of really nice jazz songs on there, and when people think of jazz, sometimes they think of three-piece band in a hotel lobby, but for diggers and people that actually understand jazz music, it's such a wide term, and jazz can be Brazilian, it can be Japanese, it can be Australian, it can be American, it can be African, it can find its way into lots of different sounds, and it can be interpreted many different ways. So credit to BBE, the label, Barely Breaking Even, who have uncovered and perhaps showcased some of that jazz music to the world. I think a lot more people are starting to open their eyes to jazz, and learning that it is such a wide explanation of music. Some of the other compilations that Bob's worked on, Hot Sauce and True Spirit, and they're both on his label Chili Funk, definitely worth checking out. I'm not sure exactly which song I'm going to play off this record. There's so many dope tunes, but anyway, let's pick one and just have a listen. Okay, so on to record number 5, and this is another 12-inch compilation. It's called Disco Juice. This is volume number 2, and this is on Counterpoint record label. And Counterpoint is an affiliate with Chili Funk, who we just spoke about, Bob Jones's label. So, it sort of interconnected with these guys. The compilation was compiled by Nick the Record out of the UK. Nick runs a label himself called Record Mission with a gentleman called Dan Tyler from Idiot Boys. And again, these guys are all kind of working together and intersecting each other within the music industry. If you haven't heard of Nick the Record before, you can check out, he's got a dope Boiler Room set that's currently online with some just wicked rare kind of disco tunes. He's a big advocate for disco, early disco stuff. And in the sleeve on this record, it actually sort of nudges to the fact that people, when they think of disco, can sound quite cheesy. And I know 20 years ago, if you'd said to me, do you like disco? I probably would have said no, because I was a bit naive in my knowledge of disco, and I didn't, when I thought of disco, I thought of ABBA and I thought of pop music. But the more you dig, the more you realize that, disco came from a place of soul and gospel and jazz, and in its purity, there's some really beautiful and well-written and really interesting disco music. Some of the early stages of hip-hop went towards disco. Some of the early stages of, certainly, before house music, there was disco music. And like a lot of genres, they just blow up, they get too big, and they become commercialized, and then it's all about the money, sadly. So, before that, there was some really amazing underground disco, and this compilation highlights a lot of that sort of stuff. So the track that I've picked to play off this compilation is by Shift, and it's called Roller Rink Funk.
Let's rock, let's roll, let's skate. Let's rock, let's roll, let's skate. Let's rock, let's roll, let's skate. Let's rock, let's roll, let's skate.
Cool. Thanks for checking out my top 5 this week, guys. If you have any questions, like always, please leave a comment, let me know. And, just keep digging, keep it alive, keep the funk happening. My name is DJ GhostNotes. Peace.